All right, guys. I want to invite my guests up here. Let me start with Mark. Mark, karibu tafadhali. Mark is the AI advisor at GIZ, right? Is that GIZ or EU? Great. Mark, karibu, please. Take a seat. Next is Cecilia Nyawira. Cecilia is head of search. So that's not Google search. That's Google search at the Aga Khan Hospital. So Cecilia manages search at a global level. Cecilia, please come closer. Thank you. And I want to also invite Jack Ngare. Jack is Technical Director, Office of the CTO at Google. Jack, karibu, please. There was someone from Strathmore. I have not been able to reach Angela, right? Angeline is AI lead at what? At CIPIT? Yeah. And we are also expecting the principal secretary at the state. I always get confused with all the government titles, and because of protocol, I must get them right. State Department of ICT and Digital Economy, Engineer Tanui. He should be here shortly. But we shall kick off. So tonight's conversation is really about AI, artificial intelligence, and emerging technologies. We've spent almost a whole week on the internet governance issue, so we are going to start bringing it home today based on artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. So with me today, I have professionals from from the people perspective at the professional level, from technology, from government, from education. So we want to have a conversation. We don't want to sit here and talk among ourselves. We want to involve everybody in this one. So I will kick off this with a personal story about emerging technologies. And this story is about a movie I watched maybe 20 years ago. Whoever watched Will Smith's movie, Enemy of the State? I know there are many young people, but so if you are a white hair like myself, you will know. Enemy of the State? Anyone else? So I advise you to, I'm sure Jack, you've watched Enemy of the State. Anyone here, Enemy of the State? Watching that movie 20 years ago, it was all science fiction. Completely science fiction. We were like, wow, when is that technology ever going to happen? Fast forward to today, every little thing, Jack can confirm to me if I'm right or wrong, every little thing that happened in that movie is happening today. Correct, Jack? So are we facing, no pun intended, enemy of the state moment in artificial intelligence and emerging technology? And again, as far as emerging technologies are concerned, what are these? What are emerging technologies just beyond artificial intelligence? So I'm going to give up the mic to Angeline to kick off from your perspective. But maybe you want to introduce.
research institution. We are housed under Strathmore University, and our focus is really conducting research at the intersection of emerging tech and policy. So this is a good fit for this discussion. Really grateful to be included in this panel. Thank you for the invitation. So you want us to answer what?
Just give your perspective about emerging tech and all that.
Sure. So we're in what is being termed the fourth industrial revolution right now, and artificial intelligence is just a small component of that. So we also have things like blockchain, Internet of Things. Those are all part of this big group of tech. So in general, I think the fourth industrial revolution underpins this concept of us utilizing more and more technology for everyday function, for every other part of life, which you can already see is happening. So in terms of artificial intelligence, which is what we're talking about here, I think the big interesting thing with AI right now is that it's tech, but it's tech that has the ability to mimic human cognitive function. So it can teach it, it can learn, it can progress. So I think that's why we're all really, really interested in the topic.
Thank you so much. So I'll take like a minute break to welcome our guest from the State Department of ICT and Digital Economy, Engineer John Tanui. Okay. So we have just started, Engineer, on this interesting conversation around emerging technologies and artificial intelligence. So thank you for that. What I want to do now is maybe invite Jack to give us his perspective. So as Jack is starting, guys, if you have any questions, any comments, keep it in mind. We'll come to you as we have this conversation. Over to Jack.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ali. So as Ali mentioned, I work for Google at the office of the CIPIT. Basically, work with Google's I think 10% customers to figure out where the tech is going and how it can impact them. It's great to be here. He asks me a hard question, and I say, please Google it. I am not advertising. I really don't know the answer. But you know, folks like us who have been in the artificial intelligence world for like, I don't know, since for donkey years, probably for in the IT world, more than half of you in this room have been alive. You know, it's quite an exciting journey. And you know, some of us followed it all out of government, but at least we've read literature around, you know, Dartmouth conference that was in 1956, where the fathers of artificial intelligence sat in a room like this and discussed about why are we going to call it artificial intelligence. And there are two reasons. They didn't want to confuse it between the word artificial intelligence, which means mimicking human beings, and on the other side, something called neural networks, which works like the way the brain works. So they chose to call it separately. It's so funny how history comes full circle, like how we have those two things actually mean the same thing, and we call it artificial intelligence. And there's in one article, by the way, they call it artificial intelligence. There's also a thought process to work through to determine that's the name they're going to use. But you know, then thereafter, you know, the evolution that we always see on TV, you know, when DeepMind won Gary Kasparov in chess for the first time ever, it was, you know, all of us were so excited. We're like, hey, now finally artificial intelligence is going to take over the world, because it has beat the world chess champion in chess, not once, but a couple of times. And okay, that didn't happen because we realized that it was kind of doing something called brute force. You know, it just keeps trying different ways of doing things, but it's not really thinking. And then,
but it was at scale.
But it was at semi-scale, let's call it that. And then afterwards, we got excited when DeepMind, which is part of Google, defeated the AlphaGo, the Go champion of the world, and the machine was called AlphaGo. And the uniqueness of that is that it wasn't being something called brute force. It was actually mimicking how humans think and a little bit more creative the way it was defeated. And that was like so exciting. By the way, out of the DeepMind solution that beat the guy in chess, nothing came out of it, to be honest. Then the AlphaGo, we realized, okay, it can work for games. So we started building games using AlphaGo type technology, but never in mainstream. It was never coming to impact our lives. You know, it would be something that we would see on some random program somewhere. But now, in 2017, at the release of the paper, you know, attention is all you need, where transformers now heralded the new neural networks. That now you see OpenAI with ChatGPT, you have Facebook with Lambda, you have Google with Palm 1, Palm 2, and many others to come. Is driving a lot of excitement. There are four fallacies with that, and I'll try to make it clear here. With some of the things that I think, and these things that we think about. But for us, so in other words, the programming that goes into building these things, and the logic and the algorithms. And the second thing, it's a mathematical statistical model. And mathematical statistical model need inputs. And these inputs are trained by data that's not necessarily coherent. And so, you know, if we want to participate into the future, we have to figure out how do we get more of our relevant data of these models so that kind of prediction that can help our daily lives in Africa. And so we don't feel disadvantaged. Many of you remember a couple of years back there was this move going around in WhatsApp about a guy who goes to some bathroom, I don't know where it is, and then he puts his hand like this, and it doesn't dry his hand. When he does this, it dries his hand. You remember that? Yes. And it's the same thing with these models. Because it wasn't trained, and many companies, tech companies like Google, have made mistakes like those before. So how do we, as Africans, make sure that, you know, some of the things that have been happening in these mathematical statistical models, the software is fine. We get involved in them. Yeah.
Jack, thank you so much. So thank you for that bit of historical perspective and what is currently going on. Engineer, from a government perspective, you are sitting at the apex of ICT policy at the Kenya government. What are we seeing going forward from this perspective, from emerging technologies, from artificial intelligence? What do you say?
Thank you, Ali, and first I want to appreciate KeIGF for organizing such an important conversation. Artificial intelligence and emerging technologies are quite important to us. At times, maybe we can look and say we are a consumer of technology. We wait until it's ready, we just enjoy. But I think we need to rethink that and be part of the frontier of establishing what you mentioned, those models, the algorithms, and so forth, because it will definitely affect all of us. From the government perspective, Kenya has been very keen in adoption of new technologies. And we are all aware the country does not hesitate to engage when it comes to new technologies. We check many of our development blueprints, Vision 2030 clearly burns on those areas of technology, on how to tap it, how to grow it, how to make our country a player in innovation, technology, and knowledge economy. So we are solidly as a country focused on being a player when it comes to new technologies, including the artificial intelligence and any other new technologies. We've also seen in other documents, the blockchain, the task force led by Ndemo, which did a very good job and gave even proposals on things that we should consider as a country And some of them we've started seeing implementation, touching on payment systems towards digital currencies and so forth. So as a country, we are keen to play and participate. There were comments when we launched this new way of connectivity using the balloons, which but it's a full statement that this country is ambitious to participate in any kind of innovation. We are not afraid if we fail, but we take our lessons and move forward. At the policy front, we are looking at how to move forward. And if you look at the definition of the current government, the new areas that are introduced, their functions, including the Ministry of the State Department, I lead ICT and digital economy, recognizing the rising aspect of this new digital space. When we say digital economy, what is it about? It's a new dispensation we've not talked about before. When we talk about trade, we talk about trade of physical products and services, goods and services, but now we're hearing conversations about digital trade, digital technologies and all that. And also, so as a government, we're looking at how do we now put policies in place to make our country at a vintage position to be able to take advantage of these technologies. The other one is to be at the right table to have conversations with respect to these technologies, because interestingly, we are not like left behind. Conversations about artificial intelligence is a top conversations across the economies, whether it's here, whether it's EU, and so forth. So it's important that we sit at the right table. And I think internet, the conversations we've had over the years, and the impact we have had on policy is very important. So these conversations are in the right place, and I thought I'm coming here to listen and hear what should I do with the position I have as recommendations from internet, because I think these are the people who need to look what's happening across the world. You mentioned about the biases that can be inbuilt to some of these systems and solutions. How can we participate in those technologies, development, and inbuilt safety nets within our policies and regulation framework? So as a ministry, we're looking at how to ensure we have the right policies in place. We encourage adoption of these technologies. We're looking even at our regulatory framework to see that we have the right institutions. The last time the sector had a huge reform transformation, I think it was about 20 years ago, 1998. So it's time that the sector players, professional experts start looking and giving us proposals and say what should legal and structured institutions that need to guide our hands to the next step. We're looking at digital services, digital marketing, the tools that are used in it, whether now it's artificial intelligence, it's affecting our businesses, whether government or private enterprises run the operations, how decisions are made, and decisions can affect individuals, even fundamental rights of individuals. Now, we already see simple decisions like the AFLAPA, where machines are making decisions about your credit score. If you advance a bit and put more intelligence, it can be more effective, but also you can introduce biases. So what precautions do we have in place to address those areas? So we are keen and working on those areas. We've started conversing about the next sectoral reform in the country, in the ICT and the digital economy space. That is this space we're having this conversation today.
Is there a burning comment, a burning question from the audience that I would be happy to engage with myself and the panel here? I see Jennifer's hand is already up. Do we have a mic for the audience? We don't have a roaming mic. Okay, cool. No worries. Jennifer.
Hi, everybody.
I'm going to bring our war with Ali on LinkedIn here because it's something that we've been discussing about AI and children. And how prepared are we as a country for AI, especially the impact on children, on 3 areas? One, we don't have the most literate population. So that means if you're going to bring a machine that reads for you and writes for you, that means my dyslexic child will never write. Okay? In terms of logic, okay, thinking, if a machine is thinking for you, what does that mean for children? Okay? And then creativity. Right now we have so many generative machines that are creating amazing art. Okay? So that means if I have to, let me draw the map of Africa, and then I don't even have to type it. I'll just say, Google, hi, Jack. Google, can you draw for me a map of Africa and highlight all the dams that, so I don't have to do it. For me, that is my biggest concern about AI, okay? Yes, I know the argument is the learning, but what about the kids who have not learned yet? Or how prepared are we, okay? And then number 2, Honorable, my question is, I have a big tweet with OpenAI, because the machine was...
Do you want it closed?
Sorry?
Do you want it closed? Do you want it to be called the AI?
No, I don't. No, I'm pro AI. I just want regulations. What can we be able to do? So my biggest thing is, why was this built in Kenya and it's supervised? Okay, ChatGPT. I've not used before. I've not been so busy. I've not used ChatGPT before. But why don't we, Jack? It's built by Africans. Okay, some kids from JQR, okay, who have been working so hard. Why are we not helping our children as you key in that data? Also key in something to do with Africa, so that it's not being so biased against Africa. Thank you so much, and thank you for
Jennifer, thank you so much for those comments. I knew you were going to transfer our online conversations on LinkedIn to here, which is fine. But the good thing is that I'm the moderator, I can outsource it to Jack. But look, you raise very important concerns. But let me ask you a question before I open it up for my panelists to also answer. You know, there are 2 types of people today, generally speaking. One are those who we call digital natives. So let's forget for a moment, we'll come to that, the issue around access to the internet. That's a big issue for sure. But let's make some presumptions for now. So you have digital natives, you have digital migrants like myself. I mean, I didn't wake up with the internet. I didn't wake up, the first time I touched a computer was when I was in uni. Has that made me a robot? Because now I use, sometimes I've forgotten. I'll come to you, don't worry. One of the most important things that we have to address is that there are certain basic things that we must not forget. Number 1, how to learn. The tools will change over time. The onus is on us, all of us. Let's not just say government. You know, why are we outsourcing, for example, why are we outsourcing parents to schools? Is that the government's problem? That's a parental issue, so we need to have those conversations. I'll let Jack add on to what I've said.
I won't say Google it, but anyway. So I don't know the details of the OpenAI ChatGPT thing that was being worked on here, but I can speak generally about how the tech works. Initially, I said that a lot of these are based on the neural networks and then the mathematical statistical models, and that is where the data sits. So what tends to happen within those data it's not a perfect loop that the machine learns on its own. It needs a human being to, we call it reinforcement learning or annotations of a picture. So for example, if it says picture of Engineer Tanui, it doesn't know who this is, so someone has to go and type Engineer Tanui. So that the next time it sees it will know that's him, right? And that's the work I think they were doing. They were annotating those images and they were annotating video clips, etc., to teach it how to do it, but they didn't necessarily, I suspect, not have control over the actual data that was being fed into the systems. And that's where, as a society, we need to think about how do we get this data. Are there repositories, maybe something that KeIGF can think about, are there repositories of pictures of our roads, our savanna, that we can feed in? Many of you remember a while back, and I think one of the search engines still had this. If you type in on the search bar, unprofessional hair, it will show images of our women's hair, right? With braids and everything. It's still there right now. So, and they call that unprofessional hair, which is, and look, we can argue about the search engine being wrong, but where it's picking the data from is someone somewhere has keyed that information in. So we need to be active participants in that field to make sure that we don't get disenfranchised. So sure, we can complain to whoever that company is that you buy, but sometimes it also asks us, those sitting in this room, the digital economy, to be more proactive and engage them even more with our own data sets, etc. I'll let someone else handle the learning thing.
So the first thing is first, what is the principle of KESI, Kenya School of Internet Governance? Okay, Barak, this guy here is alumni. He's faculty next year. He needs to come and teach us all this stuff that he's talking, and he's not getting away from it. You don't get paid. I think what Jack has said is super important, guys. Sometimes the solutions are with us. I think what we need to do is get more engaged. The solutions are here. They're not in the US, they're not in Europe, they're here with us. And that's really one of the key reasons why Internet was founded and why it remains vibrant today. Have we answered all your questions? Okay, I think Nyawira wants to say something. I will give it back to you.
I am a mom myself, and I have children, and I think I just cannot overemphasize our role as parents in how our children consume technology. We will not expect them to go to school and they're taught how to use it. We will not expect the technologists to create programs that they will fit into their culture, into their environment. It is our responsibility to start teaching them from an early age how to use it, how to make sure that they leave a positive digital imprint, how to make sure that, for example, I don't know, I think Evelyn is not here, but I've done a class of hers. It's called a digital literacy class. And what that class did is that my daughter did not just go to attend that class to be taught about how to use technology, how to make sure you don't post sensitive photos on social media, but I, as a parent, was also taught on the role that I play. For example, if I'm constantly on my phone, or at the dinner table, I have my computer and I'm not engaging with those softer parenting issues, then what we are teaching and what you're modeling to our children is actually counterproductive. To add on to the types of technology that is also coming, I think we cannot overemphasize the need for creativity to be ingrained in children from an early age. We are not going to talk about creativity when people get into businesses or into employment, but it's from that early age. So yes, you have access to technology, but are you using your social time to go out and play the games that we used to play? We know the impact that they have on the cognitive abilities of children. So again, it comes back to the parents. Are we teaching them to sort of mix the use of technology and the use of other areas to be able to develop their cognitive abilities to strengthen that? I hope that.
Thank you so much, Nyawira, for that. Yes, Angeline.
Please forgive me if I take a long-winded approach to answering your question. So what I'd like to emphasize first of all is that we should really be wary of giving AI human characteristics. I think there's this great danger of us anthropomorphizing, I can't say that word, this technology, but AI is not creative. So how AI works, and it's been touched upon before, is you give it data, right? It predicts patterns in those data. I mean, it identifies patterns in those data, and then it has a predictive capability, and it'll sort of tell you what the next most likely answer will be. So you have to train AI, and you're training it to do a very specific task. So the example you gave, for example, where it can create paintings, it's not really creating paintings. You're giving it a prompt, right? Make me a painting of a cat in a house or something. And it will search its entire database and come up with something based on the data that it's been fed. So your concerns are valid, but again, I think what you're really worried about, not to put words in your mouth, is ChatGPT, and just in general, okay? So I'll just use ChatGPT as an example. So ChatGPT is a type of AI called generative AI. So it predicts something and then creates text, right? It can create text. It's also generative AI that creates images or videos. So there will have to be a change in what we consider learning, meaning that if you have something that can actually do the basics of creating text, then that can't be a learning outcome anymore. You know what I mean? Like, we have to change how we think of learning outcomes and how we think of assessment protocols. So that will have to change, but I don't think that necessarily means that close off that a lot of these all of these AI tools are only as accurate as the data you feed them.
100%.
So going back to ChatGPT is wildly inaccurate in some things. So there's a paper where they gave it a couple of prompts in the philosophical fields, which I really don't know much about, but the things that it generated was just a mishmash of words. It was just like buzzwords, not really anything concrete. So I just think maybe let's not fear lead us on. Your concerns are valid, regulation is needed, but I think right now we just need to figure out how to work with these tools, because I don't think there's any way of stopping this particular training.
It's a tool, so I'll come to you, Mark, in a minute. But, Jennifer's concerns are valid, absolutely valid. But, I'm sure though the Egyptians also valid that the papyrus will go out of fashion. Here we are today. How do we sort of align? How do we ensure that the technology does not lead us, but we lead it? Mark, I'll come to you, but engineer wanted to say something, and then I'll come to you.
I want to agree with Harry that the best approach to look at artificial intelligence and all these other emerging technologies as tools. When we see them as tools of getting things done, making life more better for all of us, and making sense quicker, faster. So we must look from education side that we must prepare our children for the tools of their time. How will they efficiently use those tools? At what point should we expose them to these tools? What kind of curriculum should we expose from kindergarten all that level. And those are some of the things that the government side as policies to say, what kind of curriculum should we have? How do we are coding as part of the mainstream curriculum? As we approve, we are aware, normally we approve textbooks of or set books to be used. Yeah, we should start seeing even digital tools being approved as part of tools for educating our children, and that's where government have a control now to prepare our children for the future, and those are the things now we need to participate on. And as we go a bit step higher, is to say, Kenyans have been participating in some of these educating or teaching the computers, feeding in the data, and it's about annotation, which are very basic. Anybody with given education, I think, and many of our youth are earning livelihood currently by doing some of these jobs. We're running a program we are calling Jitume with the Tibet Ministry of Education, and we've set up centers, and we're seeing them getting jobs. We get those who aggregate these jobs, there are 10,000 jobs, 20,000 jobs, and our youth are sitting there and are able to educate robots on motion, how to move across the road or to fly, how to identify objects. It's still the basic job that they are doing. We need to look at how we can build the skill sets that now can lead us to the next front level, that actually we start having some of these solutions which are local. It's possible that you can actually build some intelligent system adopting some of these AI, which will be for local application. And I think that's the challenge. How do you build the talent, the capacities, our institutions, the academia, and that's the challenge to academia and the professionals who are here. What we need to do so that when these new technologies are being discussed, we are part of the team on the table. Also on setting up of policies, you had in EU, artificial intelligence bill, they are looking at the digital services hub, digital marketing hub. When they are looking and adopting a certain position as EU, how do we learn and sit with them and follow those ideas so that equally at our level, at our country, how do we now and customize our situation or our laws, policies to our specific scenario. The other issue is about the digital divide, digital we call the lack of be connected. So these are some of the things. How do we put now policies to ensure we connect? And these guide some of the initiatives and the programs now that we are running as government to enhance connectivity, and so the basis of our thinking to take broadband connectivity to each ward in this country and ensure not just connectivity, but we also build what we call digital hubs. These digital hubs to provide platforms where you can learn, you can know, it can become also a point of government services extension. And so those are opportunities. And also providing Wi-Fi in our markets to start allowing people to experience what's happening in this digital space and awareness. And also even for parents so that they can be able to engage and do their roles now as a parent, because I think she has mentioned that as parents we cannot outsource our role. We must retain, but we must also be aware of what is this what's happening. We used to talk about being streetwise. Now it's about being digital wise, yeah? Digital streets, digital space. So how do we prepare our children to be smart in the digital space? Lastly, and it's about the platforms. We are focusing on being contributors to the content. It's good. We must build and be players and participants in creation of content. But another important thing is we must see how as a country, as a region, as a continent, or emerging economies also be participants in platforms where those contents are. Because sometimes it's not about the content, It's about who sets the algorithms in the platforms where those contents run. So other regions are already looking at that, how collaboratively working with others, but we must start appreciating and encouraging development of platforms, even if it's as small as a campus platform, that in this university they have their own platform where they're able to put their contents and they're able to enjoy and they're able to define those things. That will build something that can grow to the next level. I think those are the comments I could have.
Thank you so much, Engineer Tanui. Mark, you have a burning comment.
Yeah, very brief.
Go for it.
So it's already been mentioned that this, like AI is a tool, it's amoral. It does not have values. It will adopt the values and the culture that we provide to it. I think close to what you're asking is the issue of power. Yeah, and what policy can do to power, because the people who are creating this technology are extremely powerful, and they come into our home, sometimes without our knowledge. And we think that they can only harm kids, but they can also harm us. Yeah. So I think the role of policy will be to balance that power and hold technology companies, especially the ones which are powerful, accountable. And as a challenge, and engineers also mentioned, content. We have to generate our own model. We have to generate our own AI, our own use cases, which then can serve us, and which, I'd be happy if it was a powerful Swahili model, because sometimes you find like they can't control Swahili properly, and they communicate with the technology in English, which is not a bad thing, but it's because we do not have a model yet. Swahili is spoken by a lot of people. I think more than 400 million people. So I think we have to also do something, but like the role of policy as well is to protect people and see how to address the issue of power.
Mark, thank you so much. That was a powerful thing to say about Swahili. Actually, 400 to 500 million people speak Swahili worldwide. Every major university in the world today has a Swahili department, FYI, from Harvard to Lipstick to Nairobi University. Yet, what do we say AI in Kiswahili? Who can tell me? Artificial intelligence in Kiswahili? Huh? So speak up. Huh? Akili bandia. Now, sure.
It's Umalizi bandia. Umalizi bandia.
The term bandia in Kiswahili means fake. How do we allow ourselves to get to that where we are completely massacring something that is, that's a challenge to all of us, right? I will take one more, because we're running out of time, just one more question. Okay, so it's three of you. Why don't you just vote among the three of you who will say? Because if I pick one, I'll be...
I think I have the mic.
No, you can raise your hand, so you can sit down. I don't care if you have the mic. You can raise your hand without due respect. So can we give, because Jennifer spoke, can we allow a man to speak now? Can we be gender sensitive? I'm happy to use that in the opposite way. Can we have a man? That gentleman raised his hand first. And then because we are really, okay, we will give one more question after that. Yes. One question, not two. No comments.
Okay.
One question.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Brian. My question goes to Honorable Engineer and Madam Cecilia.
One question to one person.
Let's go. Yeah,
You thought you were going to use AI to ask you questions.
So my question is on what is the government's speed of response, especially to rage caused by machine. This is coming from just as recent as last month, where tea blacking machines were raised by members of the public for having lost their jobs. And it started from last year, where 10 machines were
Your question, sir.
So what is the speed of response on that? And what the...
One question.
Okay. I'll leave it here.
Great. Thank you, Brian. The speed of government in responding to issues arising from new technologies. I think if you look at our constitution, it's really very advanced. For us to do anything today, you must do what we call public participation. So that's a very powerful tool we have as a country, that as a government, we must do public participation before doing anything. And what we encourage even in this sector, when you see anything relevant as a sector, don't just do it on the platforms internal, formalize and express your opinion. As a government, we receive, and there are formal processes in which those are received. We have institutions up to the highest offices, even in Parliament. They receive submissions even in respect to such issues. But also, entities and businesses must involve the stakeholders when they are making changes, because there are people who are affected and they need to be assured. If the people are threatened, they will take certain actions, including those ones. So it is actually a failure in public engagement, taking care of their stakeholders, and providing alternative options. So it's all awareness and taking their responsibility as an institution. So as a government, we have a constitution which provides a responsive approach. We go to every government office, we have something called a charter. A charter indicates the timelines of response. So we have institutionalized response as a government, and as we go to digitalize, now it will be even more difficult to delay, because the time you raise your issue and the time it's responded is recorded digitally. So we must be able to comply. So the timelines are already provided for in most government institutions.
I think sometimes the issue is actually ourselves. The information is out there. That's why I challenge everybody in the morning today and I ask simple question. How many of us engage with government? How many of us engage at the level of MCA, at the level of member parliament? How many of us even know the name of our MCA and member of parliament? Put forward. So I'm going to give the question to the lady in front of me here in the black and white outfit, and then unfortunately we will close the session with closing remarks by each one of my panelists. But it's not over, guys. I think my dear sister Grace is going to open the bar for at least an hour or two. Or am I speaking out of turn, Grace? It's true. Amesema. She has spoken. As we would say in government, be upstanding.
Thank you very much. I think for context and content, kindly allow me to mind map and walk you through my brain process. So we must differentiate, and I believe that the representatives from Google will agree, we must agree on one thing. There's a difference between digitalization and artificial intelligence.
I'm waiting for the question.
It's coming. Context versus content. So we are in a country now to the representative from government, in a country where we have no access in some areas to digital devices for children. And for them to access AI, they need digital devices. So that's one thing. And AI clearly mimics human beings through data. And when we're talking about regulations, my question would be, who is going to be involved in this process? Because it seems like government is playing catch-up, and we all are playing catch-up with the development and innovation. And finally, are we going to involve parents? Because as she clearly indicated earlier on, we need a paradigm or a mental shift for parents for them to understand that AI and digitalization is not necessarily a bad thing, not in the context of Nairobi, but looking at Kenya as a whole. On education, I'm glad that I can...
Okay, I'm going to stop with that. We can go on and on. We are running out of time. Do you want to really focus on one question? Because I've not gotten a question from you. Focus on that question.
All right. Yes. Who is going to be involved in regulating AI and basically any form of regulation? But everyone...
Okay, look, I'm going to answer that. That's a very simple one. I'm not even going to ask my brother. He's outsourcing it to me. Agree? The reason why we have platforms like the Kenya ICT Action Network is so that we can get involved. And I can assure you, the fact that my brother engineer Tanui is here today speaks volumes in terms of the engagement that the Ministry of ICT and the digital economy wants to engage Kenyans. So, as we say down in Mombasa, wauliza swali dada. Sorry, wauliza jawabu. You've answered yourself. You're here already. We are starting to engage. Engagement in policy and regulation is not a one-day affair. It's a continuous process. So I know that Gen Z and I'm told Gen Alpha is coming. So if you think you've seen stuff with Gen Z, go to Gen Alpha, utaona. Those things of wanting stuff immediately, immediate gratification, it's not going to happen. It's a process. It's a process, but my sister, the fact that you're here, you're part of the solution. So thank you very much. Now, guys, I'm sorry we are coming to the end of this particular panel, but again, as I said, we can take it offline, as we love to say. So I'm going to give my panelists 1 minute. And I'm Kali. When I say 1 minute is 1 minute, I'll shut you down. 1 minute closing remarks, the thing that you really want to say and you've not said, and then we can take it on. Over to you.
So I think my closing remarks would be that artificial intelligence is already here. If you have a smartphone, you're probably using it. If you have Netflix or Showmax or if you use the Uber to come here, you're already utilizing it. So I think the conversation needs to be how we manage these tools, how we regulate these tools, how we identify the stakeholders, and I think even more importantly is how we leverage these tools to make sure that everyone across the board, across the country, across the continent is actually benefiting from them. And we have to sidestep what usually happens with new tech, which is you just see a widening of existing inequalities, right? The status quo benefits and everyone is left behind. So we need to make sure that the frameworks, policies, regulations, the innovation, whatever we put in place as far as AI is concerned is actually benefiting all. I hope that's 1 minute.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Mark?
So my parting shot would be like AI has the ability to create tremendous value to a company. So for example, like Tesla, it's AI that drives that car. And we need to tap into it and think about it. That's one. But then also number two, that will not happen if we do not build a local AI ecosystem. And I think we need to do more of that, where we talk to civil society. We talk to academia and people in research who are doing stuff in Swahili, in Luo, in Luya. They are building data sets. And I give a challenge to the people from the media as well. When some of these people from the academia come and they are requesting for data sets, that we can share, because if we protect and hold on to it, we will continue talking about not having content and not having models that have been localized. So let's work on the ecosystem building and then put money into it, like local money or Kenyan money. Let's not wait for Silicon Valley investors to come.
Amen to that. Thank you, Mark. Cecilia?
I would like all of us to look at AI not just as AI, but as complementary AI, where we can never remove the human equation in this whole, as technology keeps on evolving. So it has to be complementary, where the human beings work collaboratively with the technology to be able to drive positive outcomes. And I would also want a scenario where we are not creating divides in terms of prosperity amongst people. As we move forward in technology and we're moving the people forward, let's all move together. Let all the key stakeholders, government, private sector, and anyone in between move together to ensure that then the divide between the very wealthy, because they have created technology and have gained significantly from it, and the people who are using the technology, that divide is minimized. So I want everybody to move forward together and prosper together. And I believe that can happen if we all have that mindset.
All right, thank you so much. I'll give you the last word, engineer. So let me ask Jack.
Thanks, Ali, because I have a challenge for the Tanui, so it's great for me to get out. I just want to say something. We have a proud history so far as a country, as a continent of artificial intelligence. She mentioned about the guys who are doing the open AI work in summer source. That is out. We have the loon that actually failed, did not actually fail. I read a paper how reinforcement learning, which is where you take environmental conditions and you tell the AI so it's even till today, things like Palm, Bard, Open ChatGPT are using some of those learnings that we did here using technology. So we have a good history of the direction we are going. Just that we don't say it too much as a country. We are really bad at selling ourselves, to be honest. We are really bad. So and we need to do better in terms of selling our story in this regard. The other thing is that on the education front, 3 weeks ago I was giving a paper of some gentlemen who have used a model that's 45 GB to equivalent challenge ChatGPT. Now what does this mean? With your phone, I'm sure most of your phone has more memory than that if you remove all the Facebook pictures, Instagram posts. You have more memory than that. That means that even when we say that our kids cannot get access to some of these technologies, if you download that model, they can use it to learn from a phone, from a basic, without having internet connectivity, etc. Because the model can be deployed autonomously. So there's a lot of opportunity for us, as much as we need to put the safeguards, as the comments have said. Let's look at also the opportunity that we can use to deploy like we don't know that all these other countries. So let's look at also the opportunity. Last thing I want to say, which is now the challenge to engineer. If you think about all the emerging technologies, let's say the US, maybe not so much the EU, but most the US, they all came from government-sponsored projects. And for all of us here, our concern is how do we get a job? How do we grow our businesses? If I do this AI thing, where is the money? And so the way my existence, and Mr. Nokia is Google, okay, Jack, the hustler. So if you have, just like you have affirmative action for women, people living with disabilities, for marginalized communities, perhaps it's time to say that we want to go into this direction of leapfrogging other nations and sponsor some of these projects. So, for example, if we're going to do, I don't know, new IDs or something, maybe perhaps we say 80% of the code base must be from local people who have developed it. Something like that, And by the way, what I'm saying is not new. If you look at how Japan grew, it's because they told IBM, Microsoft, etc., listen, you come with the technology, but 80% of the IP must sit here in the country. And that's how they grew. And government is the biggest sponsor. So that's just my 2 cents.
Wow, Jack.
So
Thank you so
much.
much. Thank you so much. Engineer.
In concluding, I think 2 key words. Right focus, we must focus, have the right focus, and the second, we must participate. Having the right focus, when we talk of artificial intelligence, new technologies, we tend to focus on the risk, the negatives, where there are huge opportunities. Our discussions and focus should be on the opportunities. How do we exploit these opportunities? And it aligns also with what Jack is saying. How do we exploit those opportunities? Our country has shown capability to invest. When connectivity was moving from satellite to fiber cable, Kenya invested on Teams, one of the first connectivity. Many people thought that investment is a waste or not right, but it laid the foundation. Now we have 6 submarine cables and 2 more coming. So it was a right investment that was done. And so we must focus on the opportunities that are coming from the artificial intelligence and the new technologies. And the second one is participation. We must not just identify all these opportunities, but we must actively participate. Whether it's policy development, whether it's legislative establishment, whether it's all the issues, curriculum establishment, we should see the professionals like who are seated here today, that you are submitting either a KeIGF or a group of professionals, and we hear this as a submission. There are many panels that we see in our media. Now it's mainly political, and sometimes it's neither here or not there. We are professionals who are deep and knowledge. You should be finding yourself in those spaces and bringing these discussions to those to the national conversation, and we talk about those issues and we participate in taking our country to the next level. If it is about investing, as Jack mentioned, which are these areas we as a country should invest? We are happy to see our technology partners like Microsoft setting up in Kenya Software Development Center. And when you see Microsoft, you can know 1 or 2 engineers who are part of development of software of Microsoft. Google also is setting up, and many others. That is the direction that we want to go further than that. And so as a government, we are ready to invest, but government includes all of you. It starts from proposals, ideas, and so you cannot point fingers. You must participate. You must participate and participate actively. And assurance, I'm one of you. The position I have is for you. Give us proposals. You have the team, you have leadership. Whatever you think you need done in the sector, if it's sound and good for country, you have a strong partner to make sure it's done. And also we talked earlier about sectoral reforms that we are looking, and somebody asked what is responsible for artificial intelligence in this country. That's a question and needs to be answered, and you are the ones to answer. The question we have now about new technologies and artificial intelligence, it requires data. Who defines where our data centers are, who is responsible for how they run? These are things that we need to address in our sectoral reforms now and see how do we position our country in the front. We have a huge opportunity as a country because of our talent pool. We have strong young people. Our average age in 20. Countries like China, Japan are over 45, 48. Who will define the next solutions? Who will be the users? We must take that opportunity and advantage. Power is one of the key issues that will come into play in computing. Power, storage. We are one of the best countries positioned in terms of energy renewable. Every country wants to meet the ESG goals, environmentally friendly. We are that as a country. So this country must take advantage to be the data hub of the continent or global, so that all these computing power. We can see Google setting up their cloud infrastructure here, Oracle, all these players, and we see Kenya being a big digital treasure through the data being processed in our country. So let's focus and let's participate.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Engineer. Asante sana. So in closing, I just want to say a couple of words and then I will hand it over back to my European brother from the lake. So for me, just listening in, just a couple of things. Number one, it's never too late to learn. Number two, related to it's never too late to learn is what I call ABL. Always be learning. Always. We should always be a wide space for learning. Last, for me, I want to give a personal professional experience about using artificial intelligence tools that have just made my professional work a lot more productive in a way that is so mind-boggling I can't even begin to, to discuss here because it will take a whole day. We've discussed this with Jack many times. Just to give you a snippet, if I'm doing a report of some work I've done before using AI technology, that report will probably get me back to 3 days. And I will do it, then like the way I think my mind goes, you stop, then you come back later. Today, that time, 2-3 days, will take me about maximum 3 hours. With and a lot more enriched report. So, to Cecilia's point, these tools are here to enrich us. They're not here to take our jobs. AI tool can't do what I do. You can take that to the bank anytime. With that, I want to close this and say thank you very much to my panelists for their time. All these guys are super busy people. Thank you to all of you guys who spent the whole day here today to interact, to learn, to share. You're also all super busy. Asanteni sana. We look forward to the next IGF 20